5. 211 points scored by Stu. A Frisbee touchdown record, whoop-de-doo. Please excuse my French. Why the f*** is Tom Brady on the bench? Welcome to the People's Pod.
Okay, we are in People's Pod. This is the Week 5 recap. Gall by himself today. Weaver actually has to prepare for his flight to Spain. He'll be there for a few weeks for work, so first solo show. And with that, let me get a sip of this drink as I marinate on Kurt's amazing jingle. I did like that, excuse my French, why the F is Brady on the bench. Only one man can answer that, and that one man couldn't really explain it on Sunday. That is Bill. Anyway, what's up, guys? Let's see. What's today's date? That's important. It's the 13th of October, 2021. Again, this is the Week 5 recap. A lot of action happened both in the league and over the weekend. So giving the customary weekend update, I actually spent the majority of my week last week in Santa Barbara for Stu and Amber's wedding. As I said in the last podcast, drove down Tuesday night. I should say drove up. I only drive out to places now. Living in San Diego. Drove up on Tuesday night. Stayed with Weaver and Ashley. That was awesome. Again, Adam, thank you for joining the podcast. Wednesday, worked at Brad's place. And actually bought him a really nice lunch, multiple margaritas, as my own personal atonement for him listening to the podcast when I incorrectly said he wouldn't. Then that night, checked into the Airbnb with Stu and the rest of the bridal party. Amazing Airbnb. A few of you guys were able to visit it, but basically it was like 4-level, really tall, rectangular building that has like the Spanish, like Southwestern style, but a bunch of crazy decor, a lot of like lobster themed things, a ton of like potted plants and succulents everywhere. I was staying on the bottom floor with Mitch, who was another groomsman, but a gentleman there by himself because Chelsea could not attend the wedding. Tom and Emily stayed in the adjacent room on the bottom floor, and then on the second floor there was Alante and his girlfriend, and that had a patio where we played drinking games on Wednesday night. Tons of gaucho ball, tons and tons and tons. We were being extremely loud. We must have taken down like easily 100 claws, I think, between the like 12 people that were there. But anyway, 3rd level in this place. Big kitchen, big dining room area. Actually, a secret hallway that led down to Stu and Amber's place, which was kind of looked like a bomb had gone off. They'd only been there like a few hours already, clothes and shit everywhere. And then there was a nice balcony on the 3rd floor that led to a staircase that went up to the rooftop, 4th floor, which had an amazing view of the Riviera, and you could see the Mission. This place was on like Garden and Coda, so in addition to being like a baller house, it was also like a 7-minute walk to State Street, so prime location. Thursday was the rehearsal at the Mission, short and sweet, had some nice Lucky Penny pizza and drank a bunch there. Then a few of us went to Institution. I got way too drunk. Lots of Browns. The Restraint, LOL. I think it's called The Restraint. Did not exercise restraint in the amount of it I drank. Also, Brown Outstate organized a disc golf game at Evergreen that next morning, the following morning, Friday, at 9:30. I get a call at 10 a.m. from Adam asking where I was because him and Evan and Alice and Bill and Kurt were at the course waiting for me. I told him I was in bed, which he did not believe, but it was in fact the truth. He asked me if I then would meet them on the course if they started, and I said probably not. You guys should start. So my bad there. Friday night was the wedding. We took some pictures at the Airbnb before going, but the venue was Kahe on State. It was really nice. They had taken all the tables out of the courtyard and put a bunch of chairs for the ceremony and then tables for the dinner, and there's a dance floor on the inside. And basically the entire evening went off without a hitch. The ceremony was really sweet. Adam did a great job. Touching moments between Adam and Stu. Fast forward to cocktail hour. I was trying to be, again, the R word, restraining myself from drinking too much because I had a speech due later on. Eventually sat for dinner, which was like family style, a few courses, really good. Then speeches happened. Mine went for about 15 minutes, maybe a little longer than necessary, but I was just rolling with it, reading off my phone and getting a lot of laughs for all my jokes. So it was a really fun time being up there and have such a receptive crowd. Then the night gets kind of blurry from there. Back inside, lots of drinks, dancing, shenanigans, the wedding. Saturday, we did a beach day, which was really sweet to have everyone from all different parties meet us out there because, you had like Evan and Alice and Bill and Becca staying in one place, and then like O'Malley and Kelsey staying in another place, and then the bridal party staying at the Airbnb. Weaver and Ashley obviously staying at their own place. Brad at his. Everyone meets at the beach, giant party. We're drinking claws, and I felt surprisingly good for the amount that I drank at the wedding. Then played volleyball also for hours, and it was really fun. That was Saturday. Actually went back to Institution that night to watch the Dodgers-Giants. That series had started during this entire week. That night specifically, the Dodgers won like 9-2 or something. Not a close game. Which now they're actually playing a Game 5 tomorrow night, which is pretty exciting. You wouldn't imagine a series to go any way else between those two teams. But anyway, Sunday, watched football at Weaver's place until about 1:15. Bill and Bacon and Brad were there along with Weaver and myself, so that was really cool to watch the morning games. Then I drove back to San Diego, got back in time to see like basically the first half of the Sunday night football game. Just like shaking in my boots as Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs, basically mostly Josh Allen, just eclipsed the point total that I had in my matchup with Max. But then Monday came around. Mondays there's trivia in a bar in Pacific Beach here in San Diego. So I went to that. Obviously, I was watching the game very intently and ignoring my team and the questions. And then I had the nice Monday Night Miracle from Hollywood Brown. Got my victory. So that's my last week in a glance. A lot of action. A lot really has happened, but it was an awesome time. So now we reached the atonement section. I have one thing to atone for, and we mentioned this on the last podcast because it was Stu's wedding. Someone had, I think actually Bacon had asked the question, would Stu's wedding performance negatively impact his fantasy performance, or would his fantasy performance negatively impact his wedding performance? Well, everybody on the pod, myself, Adam, and Weaver, correctly guessed that his actually, neither performance suffered for being real here because he just set the league high with 211 points, which is ridiculous. And the wedding was amazing. So no performance was impacted, except I'm taking an atonement shot because we made a bet. Adam and myself bet that Stu would wager some fab money that night. Weaver said he would not, and he did not. And that's the only thing that I can think of that I should atone for. So with that, I'm going to take a nice Crown or Royal shot right now. that's good podcasting when there's no video being taken. It's just dead air while someone drinks a stiff shot of liquor. But anyway, there's the atonement section. It came and went. Next, we get into listener questions. Oh, look at that. I'm already hammered after one shot. So, Evan was the only one to send questions in this week. But we can go through them. So, mailbag. What teams in line for the playoffs are pretenders? And why is America on top of that list? So that's a self-owned from Evan there. So who in the top 6 are pretenders? I mean, if we're going by points alone, O'Malley has the fewest amount of points in the top 6 by about 40. So he's an obvious pick, although he has 4 wins, so it's going to be tough for him to miss the playoffs. He'd have to have quite the nosedive. He's actually won 4 games in a row. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Weaver and O'Malley and even Evan are locks for the playoffs here because you probably only have to get 7 or 8 wins. It actually probably have to be 8 wins because of the parity in the league right now. A little bit of distance has been created because now there's 3 games that separate first and last place, but there's only 2 games that separate first and 10th place. So I'm guessing you're going to get 8 wins to get in the playoffs. Weaver, Evan, and O'Malley are halfway there through 5 weeks. So I think those guys are going to make it. Evan, even though you're self-deprecating, I think you're going to be fine. This might be a hot take, but I kind of think Team Jiggy Jiggy is in trouble. He's lost 2 games in a row, and he's currently sitting at 2-3. Now his points are crazy high above everybody else, so this might be something I'll be atoning for later on. But if I'm going to take one team in the top 6 as a pretender, I'm going to take Jiggy Jiggy, who's lost 2 games in a row and is currently sitting at 6th. Second question from Evan, in line with that first one. What teams in line for the consolation bracket are actually contenders and why? It's hard looking at this bottom 6 and picking someone to crack. The top 6, basically because the points are pretty not good. Although I know I just talked about Brad's points not really mean anything. But the person with the longest winning streak in the bottom 6 right now is myself. I won 2 in a row, coming off a 143-point performance on the back of 30 points from Marquise Brown. Man, I mean, it's looking pretty bad for the bottom 6 people here. I'm going to say, and this probably is also a hot take because he has the opposite of your record, Evan, but I think Max is probably the one who is looking like a pretender that could burst his way in just by his points. I think he just had a string of bad luck. I mean, just lost a Monday Night Miracle to myself where he was up by 12 points and had a kicker, and I had a wide receiver left. He currently has over 600 points, which is more than the other bottom 5 teams there. So I would say Brad would be the pretender and Max would be the contender, at least contender for the playoffs. But, Weaver keeps saying that Allen, Diggs, and Hill together could crack 90. So perhaps Max has that in his future, and that will get him over the edge. Also, S2's wedding, Evan asks, who is the best dressed and who is the drunkest? So best dressed, I think it has to be Curtis. His long, blonde, luxurious hair was down. He was wearing this killer blue suit and just rocking it so well. I think when I saw all of our friends show up, Kurt looking the best. This, of course, is behind Stu, who was wearing a gray, brown suit jacket with a amber bolo tie. It's pretty funny. He would tell anyone who would listen, "Oh, do you like my bolo tie? It's amber." And then, like the ba-dum-ts snare to the hi-hat every time he would say that. So yeah, Stu and Kurt were looking phenomenal on Friday. Drunkest, I honestly don't remember very many people being that drunk. Although I can tell you how my night ended. It ended with me wandering alone through downtown Santa Barbara in search of food. I eventually made it to Blue Owl, and then I walked from Blue Owl back to the house on Garden, just scarfing down my pork fried rice along the way. So anyway, that's the listener segment. Thank you for Evan. Everybody else is listening. WTF. I know I kind of sent the prompt out a little late today, but it's a weekly thing. When it comes around to Wednesdays, you guys who are listening, just send in the questions. But okay, so next we got the Fab section. We didn't talk about this last week because we had a lot of content to get through. But now that it's myself, we can catch up here a little bit on the Fab discussion. Of course, as we now are a positive vibes only podcast, everyone's wagers were the perfectly placed wager to win the people that they did. And starting on the 6th, the ones that we haven't talked about, Adam won Alex Collins. I thought that was a good wager at that time because it looked like Chris Carson was losing work to him in the game that the Seahawks beat the Niners. He had 14.8 points. So a little over a point for every dollar that Adam wagered. This past week, only scoring 8, though, and that Thursday night loss to the Rams. How much of that was them being down? How much of that was Russell being injured? How much of that is the timeshare? It's hard to say, but I was not mad. I'm not mad at any of these ones, but I wasn't mad at that bid for Alex Collins, out of Adam. Next, we have AJ Green going to Bacon. He bid $18. Actually beat my own wager by $7 at 11. AJ Green was coming off 3 straight games of double-digit points, each of which he had 6 targets. But for all of you who watched the games on Sunday, I actually didn't get to watch the Niners-Cardinals games because I was driving, but pretty low scoring. The Niners kept the high-flying Cardinals offense in check, and with that, AJ Green actually had his first clunker in a month. So we'll see if he bounces back for Bacon's bid. $18 right now. Doesn't look great if he doesn't reach double digits in the near future, but at the time, I thought it was a good wager. And that's like a high-volume attack. It's an inter-division game, so they all know each other really well. I'm sure that Kyler and Hopkins, although who actually saved this week with a touchdown, and Rondell Moore and Green will be fine moving forward. Evan bid $25 for Samaj Perrine. Pretty nuts. Obviously, Samaj is Mixon's backup. This was made because Mixon injured himself against the Jaguars on the Thursday night previous. So Samaj actually put up a good stat line here. He scored 16.3 points, 59 yards, but also scored a receiving touchdown, I believe. Yeah, receiving touchdown. Although now it turns out that he's on the COVID list. So hate to spend that much money on a running back for him to go straight to the COVID list, although Mixon is trending in the correct direction. He's still questionable right now, but he should play. Although spending $25 for a backup is kind of steep. I mean, if Mixon was going to have a multi-week absence and you're getting 16 points in back-to-back weeks, I think that's a perfectly fine expenditure. Although Evan didn't even play Samaj. He picked him up, kept him on his bench when he saw Mixon was going to play. Samaj outscored Mixon, and now he's got COVID. So for $25 for at least 2 weeks, unless somehow Perrine can make a miracle appearance after testing positive for COVID, Evan's going to have nothing to show for it. And then Mixon is trending in the right direction. Although, as a Mixon owner of last year, and I actually talked to Evan about this too when I was visiting with him. The Bengals did this dance where Mixon was always 2 weeks away for 10 weeks and they never came back. So I understand where Evan's coming from, putting $25 on there, knowing Mixon's history. So far, it hasn't worked out for Evan, but I can see the mindset. Let's see. Next of note, Randall Cobb gets picked up by Bacon. He also puts up a stinker. Man, all these, I guess Samaj performed, but everybody else who I've talked about has not performed. Let's see. This week, I picked up Chris Evans, who's a third-string running back on the Bengals, but we just talked about Perrine having COVID and Mixon being 50-50, so this was just kind of a shot in the dark by me to see what's going on Sunday morning. If he's Chris Evans, the only healthy running back on the Bengals roster playing against the Lions, that could be a good play for me. Bacon wins Hunter Henry for $9. The next offer was $5 on that one. Henry has had a healthy target volume the last month. And they're playing Dallas. Looks like Mac Jones is settling in to that offense, and that game is going to be a high-flying affair, so I like that pickup for Bacon. Although, if we look at, he rides the bench 500 miles. Bacon also won the bid for Zach Ertz. So right now, Bacon has Ertz in his starting lineup at the tight end, who plays Thursday, tomorrow night, against Tampa Bay because Dallas Goedert is going to be out. He also has COVID. Oh, Bacon's got the double IR going, but this is the legit double IR because one of them is for COVID. My hat is off to you, Bacon, if I was wearing one. But anyway, 2 tight ends picked up. I wonder if both of them will make their way into Bacon's lineup come Sunday. But those 2 tight ends I also put wagers in for, and they get either one of them. Bacon actually beat me for Ertz. We bet the same amount of money, but he had the higher priority. The 2 biggest fab expenditures of this past week, yesterday, I'm talking about. Max goes $25 for Marlon Mack, who was picked up and then dropped by Pebbs with the whole Colts fiasco. Max spent $25 fab dollars on Mack, which was $20 more than the next bid by O'Malley. I can only imagine this because there have been rumors that the Chiefs were interested in acquiring Marlon Mack. With CEH just going down and them looking for another starter, this is very akin to the Charmander West that Max acquired a few years ago, where he spent a healthy amount of budget when Charmander was elevated to the starting role. This move looks like Max is trying to read the tea leaves and cash in before everybody else does, although he did spend a significant amount of fab beating everybody else out. And actually, he could have spent $5 and still won because he would have the lowest priority out of all of them. But actually, this is he said, she said. This is a stupendous. This was the best fab bid I've seen ever. Biggest expenditure, and this also was by Max, was $71 for Devonta Booker. I feel like an idiot because I dropped him to pick up John Ross on the whim after all those Giants receivers went down. John Ross scores 16 points on my bench. I don't start him the next week, which is last week. I just dropped him to pick somebody else up at the expense of Devonta Booker. Definitely debated dropping Booker because I had drafted him because of Saquon's injury history, but Saquon had just come off of back-to-back weeks where he was getting the large majority of the carries. Booker is barely involved, and everyone's saying, Saquon's back. And so I made the calculated move to drop him. And here we are now, where Saquon has got a low ankle sprain, where they are saying it should only be a short absence, but who knows with someone who just had that surgery and has been eased back into play. That coupled with Booker just going off against the Cowboys, And now Max spent $71 to have a starting running back this week. So look at Booker's stats. 19 points, 16 carries, 42 rush yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, 3 receptions, 16 yards, and a touchdown in the air. Next highest bid was from Bacon at $50. So lots of action on this one. Actually, let me see how many. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people put in bids for Booker. 10 out of 12. Although O'Malley wagered $0. So I don't know if I guess it technically counts as throwing a bid in there. But that's got to be the most popular wager that we've had. Scrolling down here, so there's a few other popular ones. Mitchell had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people bid for him, and Cordell Patterson had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Patterson third most, Mitchell second most, Booker, god damn it, the most. Hopefully, Max, for you, Booker works out better than Eliza Mitchell has for Weaver. Okay, so that's the fab section of the last 2 weeks. Again, everyone has made beautiful, accurate bids. However, this is a little more interesting discussion, and I wish I actually had someone here to discuss it with. We've had 2 trades from the last week. First trade happened Tuesday night, literally after we had finished recording that podcast. Actually, it might have been Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. But in any case, Max sent Devonta Smith and Michael Thomas to Pebbs for Allen Robinson and Kenyon Drake. So for this trade, I'm going to try and get into the mindset of in that moment, because at this time, this past week had not happened. So when this happened, you're basically trading Devonta Smith for Allen Robinson. Justin Fields was just elevated to the starting quarterback for the Bears. Devonta Smith has had an up and down year, but he's involved in the Eagles' offense. Basically, at that time, he had 4 weeks under his belt, 2 of which were 15-plus points, and 2 of which were 4.3 and lower points. So pretty mixed bag for Smith at that point. For Robinson, through 4 weeks, he hadn't scored over 9.4 points. Highest total in receptions was 6. Highest total in yards, 63. 1 touchdown scored for Robinson. Smith at the time also had 1 touchdown scored. Michael Thomas obviously has yet to play, but I think is set to come back in week 7. The Saints are on a bye this week. Kenyon Drake, on the other hand, had come off just a brutal game. I actually played Pebbs in that one, where Pebbs started him and he scored 0.2, 1 attempt for 2 yards. That was Drake's entire game. So on the surface, when I saw this, I thought that Pebbs had the better haul. Pebbs was getting Devonta Smith, who was a rookie with up and down results to the point of the trade, but was the clear-cut number 1 in the Eagles' offense, at least in terms of their wide receivers. You could argue that Dallas Goedert is their number 1 focal point, but Smith had Smith had more success than Robinson straight up. And then you're throwing in Michael Thomas, who, last year he was complete dog shit, but the year before that produced at a very high level. He was like one of the top 3 wide receivers being taken in fantasy. Saints currently don't have like the one wide receiver. Marquise Callaway has been very up and down. He only scored on a Hail Mary this last week. And then Kenyon Drake, again, has just been really bad. Fast forward after this weekend, Max has dropped Kenyon Drake. Allen Robinson had another very ho-hum week. Still has yet to crack 10 points. He's now not practicing on Wednesday. Although I did say this in the group me, the The DNPs on Wednesdays for these vets, I really don't think matters that much. It's like the Thursday, Friday. Wednesday seems like the standard day off for all these veteran players. But anyway, going back to the trade, with Smith already being involved in his first few games and still acclimating to the NFL, maturing with Hurts at the same time, plus Michael Thomas coming off of the PUP list after their bye and being inserted as the number one to that offense. Obviously, we'll remain to be seen what happens. But the upside on those two guys are huge. Whereas on the other side of the trade, you have Allen Robinson, who has struggled for the most point. I can see Fields' potential unlocking the Bears' offense and trying to buy into that. But then trading for someone you're immediately going to drop, this basically was a 2-for-1 Smith and Thomas for Robinson. I think Pebbs got the better end of this trade. We should revisit these trades a few weeks down the line to review again, because it's hard to look at these things in a snapshot 1 week later, right? It's the season-long production that you want. Getting to the next trade that just happened a few days ago, last night actually, and sparked a great conversation in the group me. We have Jalen Hurts being traded from Scott to Weaver for Antonio Brown. Now, I know I threw this out in the group me as like Scott could have gotten more and it was throwing some shade on it, but I do understand and like the trade from both sides. I think Weaver gets the best player in this trade in Hurts, the one who's going to score the most points and probably the most impactful. Although Weaver obviously felt like he was dealing from a point of strength with the rise of Emmanuel Sanders in the Bills' offense. Of course, that was a factor in him being able to give away Antonio Brown, who he's been championing this entire year. And he actually mentioned the Robbie Anderson Antonio Brown bet that we have ongoing, which is still ongoing. Additionally, Jerry Jeudy is set to come back in a few weeks, so Weaver obviously felt like he had a wide receiver to spare. With Russell going down, he gets a little more desperate. Scott having Kyler. I don't even know if Scott has started Hurts, but you certainly are not going to start Hurts over Kyler unless you have an absolutely stupid matchup or Kyler's on a bye. So Scott is basically trading just an extra bench piece for wide receiver 2 and Antonio Brown. So this is a good trade for both. Scott definitely is a little slim in the wide receiver department, or at least he was before this trade. I mean, he's got someone named Khalif Raymond from the Lions on his team who just came off a 0-point game. So good trade for both sides. I was angry to see Weaver actually get Hurts because Weaver's already at the top of the league, and with Russell going down, it was almost like we had some weakness showing from Weaver's team, and we could maybe take him down a peg or two, but now it's going to look like he's not going to miss a beat. It's a good trade between those two. I see both sides of it. I'd love to hear what you all think. I know we bantered back and forth in the group me after the Hurts and Brown trade last night, but I feel like there wasn't much fanfare given to the Pebbs and Max trade, Smith and Thomas for Robinson and Drake, because it was happened like at 11 p.m. and no one saw it. But yeah, throw your opinions out there. Love the banter. Anyway, next section, we're going into the league picks leaderboard. This is now through 5 weeks. 5 weeks. This is the section where I like to blow through as fast as possible. So let me get a swig of beer and then we're going to run through it. Okay. Adam remains in the top spot with 17 points. He went 3-3 in week 5. O'Malley and myself are tied at 15 points, so 2 behind Adam. Also both went 3-3 in week 5. Pebbs, 12 points, also went 3-3 in week 5. He is in 4th place, and remember, folks, he did not submit any picks in week 4, so 4th place with 0 picks coming in week 4. Stu has 11 points, which would give him 5th place. He was 0-6 in week 4, 1-5 in week 5. Maybe this is where the fantasy performance is struggling because of all the wedding festivities, but in the past 2 weeks, Stu has gone 1-11 in his picks. Still better than Weaver's point total, which is 10th, bringing him in at 6. He went 2-4 in week 5. And lo and behold, Bacon has joined the party again. Bacon put his picks in for week 5. He had a 3-week absence. He now has 8 points, which is bringing up the rear in 7th. However, only 2 points behind Weaver, who has made picks every week. Although somehow last week he missed 2 games. But anyway, running through them again, we have Adam 17, Collin and O'Malley 15, Pebbles 12, Stu 11, Weaver 10, Bacon 8. Next section, hate to love to see it. A lot of things that we hate to love to see this week. First one, Monday Night Miracles against Max. You hate to love to see all Monday Night Miracles happen against people. I myself included have been at the receiving end of many of them. But it was nice to be on the giving end of that. So you hate to love to see the Monday Night Miracle against Max. Also hate to love to see Justin Tucker not coming through for Brad. Tucker, widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, fantasy kicker over the past few years. Someone who I know Brad was happy to get, and someone who I think only scored 6 points. Let's double check that so I know what I'm talking about. But Brad had to be feeling good going into that Monday night game, being down, let's see, last week. Justin Tucker scored 3. Justin Tucker scored 3 points. And Brad lost his matchup, I think, by 2 points? Let's see. Yep, Brad lost his matchup by less than 2 points. Justin Tucker, I believe, also missed a field goal. So many missed field goals we had on this week. The Packers-Bengals game was insane with that. But anyway, hate to love to see Justin Tucker not coming through for Brad on Monday night. Also hate to love to see Bill benching Brady like a buffoon. Bill is rolling the dice this weekend trying to do the Lance and Deebo Samuel stack, but Bill found out the stack is a mirage. Lance does not come through. All the while, Brady is putting up crazy points on his bench. Bill would have won his matchup had he started Brady, because the difference in their 2 scores was 20 points, around 20 points, and Bill lost by 19 points. But I'm sure you already knows that. So you hate to love to see it. This is a new one, but you love to see Stu setting the league high score at 211 points, 211.78, giving Bacon the biggest blowout by 88.46 points. Bacon scored 123. Bacon would have beat 3 other... Wow, he had a pretty high scoring week. Bacon would have beat 3 teams. Instead, he gets beaten by 88 points. Stu sets the all-time high score on his wedding week. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking we're going to love this for about 1 week, and still, actually, Stu's even doing it today. Now he's holding it over our heads that he has the all-time high score. So maybe now it's just a hate to love to see it. But anyway, that's that section. Moving on to the week 5 matchup review. So going through my personal picks, I had picked Max to beat myself, and it was looking like that would happen until Marquise Brown went off on Monday, so I got that one wrong. I won. Pebbles beat, I want to be starting Sutton and Adam, which I picked correctly. Stu destroyed Bacon, another correct pick for me. Brad lost to O'Malley, again by less than 2 points. One, Justin Tucker missed field goal. I picked Brad, I got that one wrong. Evan beat Bill because of Bill said benching of Brady. I got that one correct. And then Weaver beat Scott. I think I've picked Weaver to lose for the past 3 weeks, and he's won every single week. Maybe I have to now do the announcer's curse on to Weaver and knock him down from that first spot. First spot and actually a platinum ranking. Weaver has gone platinum. Okay, now to this week's matchup preview. First matchup we're going to look at is Pebbs versus Bill. So, in this one, we have Pebbles, who is in 9th, coming off a 1-game win streak, and Bill, who is in 5th, coming off of a 1-game losing streak. Now, fun fact about this one, had Bill started Brady, he would be in 2nd right now, and Evan, who is in 2nd, would be in 5th. Actually, scratch that, because if we give Bill the plus 20 points he didn't use, he'd be at 282, which would be more than what Weaver has. So Bill would actually still be in first place. He started Brady. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this matchup. Lots of Thursday night action on both sides. For Pebbles, we got Devonta Smith, as well as Ryan Suckup. For Bill, we got Terrific Tom, who is now back in the lineup after putting up those 38 points. And we have the Tampa Bay defense, who has been mediocre. One great week against the Falcons in week 2, but otherwise, 9 and 8 points is pretty good. I wonder what the defensive average is. That'd be a fun dive to do. Anyway, I'm taking Bill in this one. So interesting stuff is Williams, who Pebbles is starting, is Montgomery's backup, who is on Bill's bench and is out for a few weeks. So Pebbles is directly benefiting from Bill's injured player. Even with that said, I think Lockett for Pebbles is downgraded because of Geno Smith. I think Philadelphia playing Tampa Bay on Thursday night is going to be tough on Philadelphia, and therefore Devonta Smith. With Juju going down for the Steelers, Deontay Johnson should get some more action for Bill, and I think A.J. Dillon is severely under-bushed right now. He's been getting more and more involved each week, but they still have him at around 5. So another thing to note is McCaffrey has a 50-50 chance to come back. If he does come back, obviously huge boon for Bill, but if not, Bill's got Chuba Hubbard waiting in the wings. This one's going to be close, but I'm going with Bill in this one. Next matchup, we have Bacon, who has lost 4 games in a row, versus Scott, who's lost 3 games in a row. I'm taking Scott in this one. One of these losing streaks has to end. And as I'm looking at Bacon losing 4 in a row, I'm curious if this is some kind of Dobbins curse. Drafted Dobbins, we all gave him a mulligan. He drafts someone else. Actually, I think he drafted Hilaire, if I'm not mistaken, with that pick instead. And Dobbins, we know he was not playing. And Hilaire, let me see, where's Bacon's team? Yep, Hilaire is also now injured. So that 2nd round pick for Bacon can't play. He can't play. Nope, he can't do it. He can't play. Scott already has the severe Bush lead. What do I have here? Kyler Murray is about to go crazy on the Cleveland defense. Justin Herbert just also went crazy, threw 4 touchdowns and ran one in himself. So I feel like Murray has a similar large game. We get a Brown versus A Brown matchup. We have Antonio Brown. He recently acquired versus A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has been banged up and hasn't really performed as the Titans are just shoveling everything through Derrick Henry. Now they're coming up against the Buffalo Buzzsaws, so you have to imagine that A.J. Brown is going to be more involved as they're probably going to be down. And he should be 1 week healthier, so hopefully for Bacon that's a bounce back, but Antonio Brown's production has been pretty good. That's in addition to Scott's crazy running back core. Aaron Jones, who get a good amount of work because they're playing the Bears. And they should be ahead that game. Jonathan Taylor, 30 freaking points against Baltimore. And they're playing Houston, so he should be getting a lot of opportunity. And then Swift as well has been really good. So, yeah, I mean, I think at this point Scott's team is just much better, where Bacon's team's got a lot of question marks. So I'm going with Scott. Next matchup, we got Jamar Laxon versus Team Jicky Jicky. In this one, my notes are we got two teams going in two different directions. Stu just set the league high score ever, whereas Brad just lost on a Monday night heartbreaker to lose his second in a row. He also lost Saquon, so now Singletary is Brad's RB2, which is pretty tough. Stu's wide receivers have been blowing up, just as Bacon, but Devonta Adams put up 32 points. Jamar Chase put up 25 points. Robert Woods put up 21 points. Even Pittman in the flex put up almost 19 points last game. Pittman's got a great matchup against Houston. Woods got a great match against the Giants. Chase has got a great matchup against the Lions. And Devonta Adams a great matchup against the Bears. I mean, those wide receivers alone, I think I'm going to take Stu over on this one. But back to Brad, Josh Jacobs, who is another running back, and Marvin Jones, who's got his flex currently, been pretty ho-hum. Silver lining, if you squint really hard, maybe this is the week that Cincinnati defense acquisition for those 11 fab dollars comes into play for Brad as they're playing the Lions. But since his fab win, they have put up a total of 5 points. We're taking Stu in this one. Next, we got Max playing Adam of the new team name, Law and Order FVU. Law and Order FVU. I'm taking Max in this one. There are new faces abound for both teams. We talked about Robinson, although Max had him last week. Devonta Booker, who's now in Max's lineup. And Njoku, who was picked up, had a huge game against the Clippers on Sunday, 25 points, 7 for 7, 149 yards and a touchdown. And the Miami defense, who they're playing at Jacksonville. Adam's side, he's got Trevor Lawrence, put in Tony to his lineup. Did you play him last week? I don't think you did. But there's some hashtag podcast math here. And you do not. Tony's in the lineup for the first time for Adam. I have so many tabs open. Where did this thing freaking go? Oh, here we are. A lot of Qs currently in both these lineups, but I think Max's team is just better set up with the Allen Diggs going against Tennessee on Monday night. Tyreek Hill is going against Washington, who has the absolute worst defense in the NFL. Sorry, Max. Tony, although he blew up on Adam's bench last week, is going to take a hit because both Slayton and Shepard for the Giants are set to return this week. I'm taking Max in this one. Currently counting on Tyreek Hill to play. If Tyreek doesn't play, it could get a little interesting because then Max have to move Myers back into his wide receiver spot instead of the flex, and then, well, he probably wouldn't be able to play Miles Sanders because he's playing tomorrow night and he's currently on the bench, so things could get a little interesting for Max if he decides that he can't play Hill, or that Hill can't play. Another fun fact in this one, Adam picked up Butker barely newer. Butker's Bush currently is at 9.74. In 5 weeks, Butker's only scored double-digit points once. I was surprised to see that, so maybe you will be too. But anyway, I don't think he's going to meet that Bush because they're playing Washington. They're coming off a loss. They're going to be angry. Washington's got a terrible defense. It's going to be a lot of touchdowns. So Max is going to win that one. Next matchup, we got Doug Judy, Pontiac Bandit versus America Fuck Yeah. Now this is the matchup of the week, folks, because we have the number 1 team in Weaver versus the number 2 team in Evan. Both these teams are coming off of a 3-game win streak. In trying to decide this one, because it's very close in my mind, I wanted to see who's averaging more points per week. And through 5 weeks, they are both averaging just over 133 points per game. Crazy. 1 and 2 averaging basically the same amount of points. My notes for this one, I'm asking, is a Pittsburgh defense going to finally show up? They're playing a Seattle team that doesn't have Russell Wilson. The highest they've scored in a week is 14 points in week 1, of course, when Weaver's playing me. Since then, the highest they've scored is 5 points. They've been very bad since week 1. Buffalo, on the other hand, who Evan has got, has been the number 1 scoring defense. 17 points against Kansas City and Mahomes last week. 23 points against Houston the week before that. So, in the defensive matchup, you got to favor Evan. Weaver currently has Alexander Madison as RB2. If Cook plays for Pebbles, which he did practice today, then Weaver is in trouble because Weaver's normal RB2, $69 Mitchell, is on a bye. And then Weaver only has one other running back on his roster, which is Stevenson on the Patriots, who against the Texans last week had 11 opportunities for 23 yards, 2.3 points. This is a team that is super shallow on running backs because once Cook is back and healthy, Weaver's going to be forced to strut out Mitchell as RB2. As I'm reading into this, his fucking other running back is Derrick Henry, who basically is scoring twice as many points as the next running back. So maybe that's why Weaver is just fine. He doesn't even need 2 running back spots. He just has King Henry. But anyway, moving on. Another boon for Weaver is McLaurin versus the Kansas City secondary, which are also pretty terrible and were torched by Josh Allen. But looking at this one, I'm taking Evan to win. I just think on the whole, he's got more consistently talented players. We just talked about Madison potentially not playing as the RB2 for Weaver. Chenault got 1 reception on 3 targets. Cook, although I think that's a good pickup, 1 reception for 29 yards in the game where the Chargers put up 47 points. Sanders is riding so high, eventually there's got to be a crash. I think Evans' team is going to be producing on the backs of Prescott, Cooper, Evans, and Hunt. Cooks is definitely a roller coaster because of the Texans offense, and Mixon is currently questionable, although he did practice today. But I think Evans got the more talented team, even with Weaver acquiring Hurts, and so I'm taking Evan in this one. Last matchup, myself and O'Malley. This one is fun because at the wedding, O'Malley and I made a season-long bet as to who is going to have the higher finish. Currently, we are separated by 2 games. O'Malley is 4-1, and I am 2-3. And the winner of this matchup is going to get a huge leg up in that bet. If I can win, it jumps me up while pushing him down. if he wins, it's the opposite, and then the gap widens from 2 to 3 games. And yeah, that'd be tough. So I was going to go through the positional matchups for each one of these because I obviously have a bias towards myself. I think the edge on quarterback goes to Mahomes for Mahaly because Mahomes is playing against Washington. He's got, again, the worst defense, where Rodgers has been like pretty mediocre. Wide receivers going through them. I think I have the edge. I think Hopkins, Brown, and Lamb. The lowest of their scores last week was 17.7 over Beckham, who got 3 points, Waddle, who got 4.3 points. Claypool did go off and probably will have a more increased role because Juju was out, but 3v3, I think Hopkins, Brown, and Lamb has the advantage. But then after that, basically O'Malley's got me beat at every position. His running backs, Harris, Eckler, and then his flex Robinson, absolutely shed on what I got going on. Chubb is great, but Moss is very ho-hum. And my flex in Julio Jones is questionable. He might not even play. And if he doesn't play, I got to throw in Robbie Anderson, and that's just a fucking crapshoot. Schultz has been far and away a better tight end than Noah Kant. So yeah, I'm taking O'Malley. I'm picking against myself again. I have picked against myself the last 2 weeks, and I've won the last 2 weeks, so sorry, O'Malley. Your 4-game win streak may come to an end here as I'm doing the reverse announcer's curse. But to run through them again, I'm taking Bill over Pebbs, Scott over Bacon, Stu over Brad, Max over Adam, Evan over Weaver, and O'Malley over myself. Well, this has been a fun one. No Weaver for this week, or actually for the foreseeable future. So for those of you who have listened all the way to the end, let me know if you want to be a guest star on one of these podcasts, a la what Adam did last week. I'd love to Zoom you in, and we can chat about all these things and whatever else is on your mind. So let me know. Otherwise, good luck to you all, except for O'Malley, who I hope to beat this week and in our season-long standings. Enjoy the jingle.
People's Week 5. 211 points scored by Stu. A Frisbee touchdown record, whoop-de-doo. Please excuse my French. Why the is Tom Brady on the bench? Welcome